Wing 20% off Black Friday sale, November 21 through 28th.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. It's November 2021. We now have the HTS harm targeting system for the F-16C Viper. This is a passive system using triangulation. It can determine the likely locations of various emitters. We can then hand that information off to the AGM-88C harm and fire at them. If you're a user of the FC3 planes, it reminds me of the Phantasmagoria pod on the Su-25T that we've had for years. It couples with the HAD, Harm Attack Display, which is the side that we see in the aircraft. So the actual pod will only go on one station, 5 left. Today I'm also going to be taking 4 harms. To show off the abilities of the system, I've got 4 different emitters in front of me. An EWR, an SA8, an SA11 suite, and an SA6 suite. Note that we're starting by facing the first SAM that we're going to look at. The first emitters are starting to warm up and go online. We can see in the RWR. So, air to ground, power on the missiles, and I'm going to go through to the weapons page for the AGM-88. That's all standard how it was before. On the left screen, I'm going to go main menu and harm attack display. First of all, let's go over the symbology. Blue symbol is us, own ship, facing that direction. This ovoid is WEZ, Weapon Engagement Zone. If I were to fire a harm at this current altitude, speed and heading, this is the footprint that I could get the harm to hit in. Current selected steer point. Dynamic ranging rings. The yellow numbers and letters are showing a two-dimensional location of the emitters detected. We've got a search radar there, SA8 there, Snowdrift isn't online yet, and an SA6 there. The colours, yellow means they are in search mode, solid red means they're in track mode, red flashing means they're guiding a missile. We're not sure that's implemented yet, but we think it probably will be. And there's our Snowdrift. Around the outside, MEM, not functional currently. No, not functional currently. Range scale. Visual mode, depressed or centered. Centered is own ship in the center. Depressed is own ship centered down here. Norm, this is the normal zoom view. We will be able to expand over the cursor or zoom in over the cursor. Currently not functional. Threat table, we can go in and click on various things, but currently not functional. Control. 2 pages of control. The only thing really functional at the moment that we can find is we can filter the SAM symbology on and off. This other stuff is all going to be relevant later. Friendly filter. Do we want to show all friends? Sorry, I haven't got any friends here, but they will display the same as on the HSD. Do we want to show our flight members only, friends? Or do we want to show all of the friends filtered off? Kind of declutter. GS off, not functional. TI, not functional. And EOM, that is the mode of the currently selected AGM-88. EOM is the suggested mode for use with the HTS/HAD. The next step is I want to start inquiring more information about these emitters. We're just going to use the usual controls, TMS up to lock, DMS aft to gain SOI, sensor of interest, and of course your RDR cursor slew up, down, left and right, or the axis equivalent to slew the cursor. Make this screen SOI with DMS down. Use the RDR slews to move our cursor about. Let's inquire about this guy here. Pause it there. What we can see is the current relative heading of that emitter is 359. What that actually means is if we draw our current bore sight or heading there, he's 1 degrees to the left. If it was 350, it would be 10 degrees to the left. If it was 010, it would be 10 degrees to the right. It's a bit weird how it works, but that's how it works. This guy here in nautical miles is the calculated length of the major axis error. This one here is the length of the minor axis error. It's not anything like the range from us to the emitter. It's more about the error in the certainty of calculating the position of that emitter. ARM is just a miscellaneous function, doesn't mean anything at the moment. PGM2 is the most interesting thing on this set of info along with the relative heading. This last digit is essentially the error of the location of the emitter. 1 is the best. If it's 1, we know with a good degree of certainty where that emitter is. 5 is the worst. That means we only know very roughly where the emitter is. The next question, of course, is to ask how do we increase the certainty? The way this works through triangulation means that heading directly towards the emitter makes it very hard for the HTS system to do the triangulation. The further off bore we turn our aircraft over here, or I guess over here, the easier it is to do the triangulation. The lower this number will get and the more accurate will determine the position of that emitter. We're currently on PGM2, even though we're heading directly on, but I think it's because we've got it paused. I don't think the triangulation is working when it's paused. Let's unpause the scenario. Let's get the HTS working properly. Let's try and have a look at this guy here. So you can see we've currently got this snowdrift at a PGM of 5. That means a very low certainty of its position. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn heavily oblique, look at the relative heading at the top left of the HAD screen. I'm going to make that about 315. That would mean about 45 degrees off axis. And hopefully we can get that PGM down to PGM 2. See if we can get it down to 1. We might or might not be able to get it down to 1. Doesn't look like we can. We're now 40 degrees off bore. We're now 45 degrees off bore. Do we need PGM 1? No, it would be nice, but 2 is going to be fine for firing. So next we can start locking these guys, handing them off to the current selected harm, in this case station 3, and firing the missile. So unpause. We're going to move to this guy here and TMS up. It's going to do 2 things. 1, it puts a white box around it. That shows that it's locked by the HTS. After that, if we've got a selected harm, which we have, this guy will go red in the middle. That means the data has been successfully handed off from the HTS to the harm, and station 3 harm is now populated with this information. Of course, we get a bunch of firing data. Time till impact, 1 minute and 3 if fired now. Time at impact, also up on our HUD, we've got our dynamic launch zone that we're used to already from firing the harms. And that is us all good to fire. Checkmaster arm on, and we are going to fire off axis because that's a perfectly acceptable thing to do. So, fire. Now I'm going to slew to the next guy, SA8. Lock, hand off, check DLZ, fire. Next guy. Lock, hand off, check the DLZ, fire. Next guy. Lock, hand off, check the DLZ, fire. All missiles out. These missiles at this point are completely self-sufficient. We can turn away and go to safety. But there is one more useful feature that we can do, which is that we can create a SPI for other uses over those emitters. So let's just go back to number 6 there. We've got a PGM1. That's the best detail. Oh, back to PGM2. That's near enough. In fact, I can also see that it's gone red, which means that it's tracking us, which you can also confirm from the RWR. But let's say I wanted to do something else with this SA6. TMS up here. Note it hasn't gone red because I don't have any harms left, therefore I can't hand off the information. But it has gone white, which means the HTS has locked it, and the critical thing is I've got a SPI created at that target. How do we know that? Well, various ways, but we can check here. We know we've got a SPI at heading of 001 for 16 nautical miles. And we can go and do stuff with that SPI. We can, like WAG showed, slew the T-pod to that SPI so we can watch the missile hitting, or we could actually go and prosecute that SPI, or maybe later on we can transfer information about that SPI over the data link to other flight members. Not much else to do apart from get ourselves nice and comfy and safe, and we'll go and watch the missiles fall. Okay, in they go. Looks like this guy's going to hit first. Nice little ripple there. 1 EWR down. Boom. And that guy's been hit. And finally, that guy there. So that shows the first installation of the functions of the HTS and the HAD in DCS November 2021. Loads more stuff to come, obviously, as it's going to get more complicated and probably integrate the data link. I hope that was useful, and see you later.